in this day and age, the conversation of what's going on in society and politics has certainly pierced the bubble of the toy department in the sports world. And I keep getting messages from people, stick to sports, don't talk about it. What was it like for you, late 60s, early 70s, turbulent times, being a sportscaster? How did you view your role in all of that?
Well, I think that our role was really to call the game, report the ball. And in fact, in 1969, when Bud Blattner, who was the Angel announcer, left to join the Kansas City Royals in their initial year, and I prepared in spring training, and I was ready to do my first game nervously at Anaheim Stadium, my first major league game. And Fred Haney was the general manager of the Angels at the time. And he came into the booth about an hour before the start of the game, and he said, I respect this is your office, Enberg. I've been listening to you in the spring. You're going to be fine. Just want to give you one piece of advice, and then I'll leave. The advice is report the ball. And he left, and he never came back to the booth the rest of the year. Of course, Haney was a broadcaster himself during the World War II. I listened to him doing Hollywood Stars and L.A. Angels Pacific Coast League games. And it really goes all the way back to Kennesaw Mountain Landis that he didn't want anyone giving opinions. He didn't want you to say during a course, I think this will happen, or I hope this will happen. I wonder why that didn't happen. And, of course, we've grown tremendously from there. But I without putting my head in the sand, if there was a bad play or a bad moment, I was honest about it. But I didn't seek it out. I didn't feel my role was to be investigative. I knew a player was out. I saw him in the bar the night before, and he boots a ball. I'm not going to say if he had gotten into his room before 2 in the morning, maybe he would have seen that ball better. I didn't feel that was my role. And I think there's a purity about the goodness of the game, and there's so much interrogation, investigation, so many people trying to dig away at the veneer of the athlete and of the sport and tying it in with the incredible politics of our times, that I think it's refreshing when we don't go in that direction, and maybe that's my cop-out. But I've always tried to look at the very positive of sports. And 95, people say, well, what about the athletes? I said 95% of those that I've met, I wish they were neighbors. They're great. The headlines go to the 5%. Mm-hmm. And I just assume they live in another neighborhood.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
Isn't it amazing you can download an app with your thumbprint? You should download our app with your thumbprint.